So right from the beginning, if you want to get connected so that we have further discussions, I'm rather good in the LinkedIn, not so good in Instagram, Facebook, or others, TikTok. So please use my name as Ziko Ufuk Batum so we can find each other. So actually, I'm one of those very lucky persons in life because I happen to be part of this ecosystem, the entrepreneurship and innovation community in the last 20, 25 years. It's very dynamic. It's a two-way traffic. We learn from each other. A very young, approach, and also very creative. So if you maybe look back to our economy, our industry, Turkey is one of those late industrialists after 1960s and particularly 1980s. So we happen to miss the entrepreneurship era because I was in the Silicon Valley, for example, in 1990s, San Francisco and the Bay Area. So lots of things were happening, but then when you study, it dates back to 1940s, end of the Second World War. So, lacking the 65 years. But what is very interesting in our society, right from the very beginning, I like to share with you, is that we are a very agile society. When you look at our SMEs, our companies, even the governmental institutions, because governments are very heavy, bureaucratic, hierarchical, and very, very slow in process. But it's in our, I think, social codes that we act quick, and sometimes, of course, we make mistakes because being very fast doesn't give you much time, like the Germans, to stay back and make the planning. So agility is very key in our era, being agile, because we have experienced that, for example, in our those Corona years. We've created products, services, hospitals, capacity, much faster than our US partners or most of the Europeans. So agility is on one side, and then on the other side, probably you're searching for being institutional. So you cannot be both, of course. So agility is good for innovation and entrepreneurship. Bana biraz da böyle I'm asked to switch back and forth to Turkish and English. So yani biraz böyle Türkçe olarak da hemen giriş yapayım. Kısa özetler yapacağım. Ben şanslı bir insanım çünkü girişimcilik ekosistemi çok dinamik ve çok güzel. Çok öğretici, çok besleyici. Herkesten öğrendiği çok kolektif bir anlayış. Öyle genç bir bakış. Yani yaş itibariyle değil, bakış itibariyle, iş modelleri itibariyle ve yine şanslıyım ki Türkiye'nin ilk bu ekosisteme girişinde ben de yurt dışındaki görevlerimden bir 10 yıl falan yurt dışında görevler yaptım. San Francisco'da, Amerika'nın başka yerlerinde, Avrupa'da. Türkiye'ye döndüğümde Türkiye bu işe girmek istiyordu ve klik etti. Ben de öğrenerek birçok şey yapmaya gayret ettim. Who considers himself or herself as an entrepreneur, or at least has the spirit of acting as an innovator or an entrepreneur? There's one only. Now 2, 3, 4, maybe 5. Okay, not bad. I think if you're around 40, 50 in the room, 10%. Say it again. In the forest. Bigger society, but then you need to be an innovator in your forest because you have to do everything. Imagine the old villages that people were the real innovators. They've got little support. Good. So then what is entrepreneurship? Nedir girişimcilik? entrepreneurship, bringing innovation. Okay, what else? Good. Solving problems, identify and then solve problems, creating needs, new needs, needs, ihtiyaçlar. Okay, but maybe also the needs are there. They observe and they find the needs as challenges, as problems, and then, yes, similar. Good. Startups, you start a new venture, create an organization, talk to people, communicate, be very much user focused or customer focused. Well, if it's more commercial, we call it customer. If it's like more social entrepreneurship. So entrepreneurship is the basis. And when we're talking about, or we will be talking about social entrepreneurship, 70-80% is pretty much the same. So let's look at the tanıma bakalım biraz, the definition. It's the process of developing innovative and sustainable solutions to social problems, to social challenges, issues. Say it could be governmental, it could be part of the private sector, it could be a third sector, we call it. Wherever you go, there are problems. And when I look, I'm also an entrepreneur myself. Several times I've tried, and several times I failed. You know, what do you call an entrepreneur who failed several times? One word. Fighter. Okay, not bad. This is more the Anglo-Saxon societies, the culture. They like to call that person, what an experience. Now, 25 years ago in our society, it was, if you fail, you wouldn't tell anyone, not even your father, mother, or if you're married to your wife, husband, because we would call it loser. And we trained the society. We educated each other. Now in Turkey, when you talk about, stories, because storytelling is very important in our entrepreneurship. You're making pitching, right, in front of investors. It could be commercial investors. It could be the government offering grants or other society elements. So pitching is very critical. That's communication. And when you do that, you have to show your experience. And so experience is very key. And so therefore, social entrepreneurship or techpreneurship, doesn't matter. It's good to make small mistakes. We accept mistakes. And that's not because we are very generous. It's because we understand the dynamics. Those small mistakes, and you keep pivoting your business or your social entrepreneurship. You pivot it, depending on what the society is looking for, because you cannot anticipate at the very beginning. So sometimes we make mistakes as founders or social entrepreneurs, that we cannot anticipate what the society is looking for. So what we do instead is we try to give them something almost perfect. My experience, I've been dealing with thousands of entrepreneurs. In the last 25 years, as I'm an engineer, I like to keep my small numbers as statistics. I've been dealing on one-on-one basis more than 6,000 startups, more than 25 hours of mentorship. That doesn't make me one of the best mentors, but what it gives me is that I have statistics and the experience dealing with them. So in a way, I can, in broad terms, I can say, for example, we entrepreneurs or social entrepreneurs, we look for the perfect product or the service or the system, and there we fail. There is no such as perfect. In fact, Perfect is the enemy of good. Okay, so we need to look at the resources, and those resources are very limited. Doesn't matter if you're talking about government projects or corporate level projects or SME projects or our social entrepreneurship. Wherever you go, finance is limited. But finance is even more, or resources are even more limited when you come to entrepreneurship. Now, it might look as something bad, but in fact, why we exist and why we will transform the societies is because with little finance or with very little resources, we can use those resources more effectively. Why? Because we work on necessity. Okay, so burasını ve bir Türkçe'de söyleyeyim. Biraz uzun İngilizce'de kaldım. O kadar önemli ki neden girişimciler var, neden sosyal girişimcilik var ve kaynak nereye bakarsanız bakın sınırlı ama dar kaynakla çalışanlar biziz. Yani girişimciler. O dar kaynakla olduran da biziz. Mesela bir Arçelik, Vestel, büyük şirketlerimiz, Otosan. Oraya 10 milyon dolar koysan organizasyon dışarıdan bir para geldiğini fark etmez bile. 10 milyon dolar bir yerde böyle kaynar gider. Ama 100 bin dolarla biz girişimcilikte, yani girişimciler ekipler kurarak, çekirdek ekipler mentorluk alarak ve ben de binlerce startup'a mentorluk yaptığımda vurguladım. Orada büyük bir dönüşüm yapma imkanı olur. Neden? Biz açız. Başarmaya, problem çözmeye, az kaynakla daha çok şey oldurmaya. Sivil toplum da öyle aslında. Yani bugün bir sivil toplumun projesinde davet alıp konuşuyor olmak beni ayrıca da memnun ediyor. Çünkü bu sivil alan, kolları sıvayıp girişen, her daim engelleri kendi çabasıyla, öğrenme kapasitesiyle aşan yapı çok daha verimli yapılar. Yani bir önceki sunumda vardı sanki, işte kamu güçlendikçe sivil topluma tabii daha az yer kalıyor. İşte onu Türkiye'nin hem de hinterlandı açısından da yapacağı bütün işler açısından destekliyor, güçlendiriyor. Buna inanıyor olması lazım. So here the goal is not only profit. What do you understand from this? Not only profit. So therefore it is also profit. Don't be shy with finance. Oh, we're doing social course. So money is the dirt of our hands. That is the old saying. We have to understand finance and resources. We have to spend it wisely so that there is a return. So that return, we don't have to take it as a profit, but that return we can reinvest in the society. So finance is critical. That's why I said not only profit, so therefore it is also related to benefit, profit, or whatever, but definitely creating value and social impact. So projects that we deal with environment, education, or projects or products we try to develop for the handicap. Unfortunately, the rate of success for any product or service that you do for a handicap group, they tend to fail. The success rates are very, very low. Why? Because it's difficult to distribute to them. It's difficult to find them in the society. And of course, there are other reasons. So what areas? Education, healthcare, environment, poverty, women, gender, other issues. But don't forget, entrepreneurs and therefore social entrepreneurs are change makers. I mean, look at the Tesla guys and the other guys and the platform entrepreneurs and all those Silicon Valley, New York, Boston, London, Istanbul, other entrepreneurs, they treat themselves as change makers because that's a very tough job to do, change society. But then if you create the team is so critical. I mean, this is one of our weak muscles in Turkey. We don't create teams just like that. I don't know, how is it in Poland? Team building, teamwork. So it depends. Is it developing when you compare to 30, 40 years? Sure. Yeah, that I would have anticipated that. That's also happening in Turkey. But I, as a professor teaching at some reputable Turkish universities, so I take students when they're 18, 19, or 20, 22. It's too late to give some talent or some other supplementary muscles to them. So that should have happened much earlier. Yes, but as you said, big regions in our innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystem or the community, not because we like it, but we keep saying or we keep hearing that US innovates and China imitates and Europe regulates. So too much bureaucracy, I think, and Europe is aware of this, I think, trying to come out of this. So China imitates is in the past. Would you know that in our entrepreneurial ecosystem, there are 3,200 unicorns. Unicorn'u belki bilmeyenler için $1 milyar piyasa değeri olan girişimler. Yani piyasa değeri $1 milyar. 3,200, half is from US. But so today it's 50%. In the past it was 60%. So coming down to 40%. And nobody would, give me a name of a startup from China, maybe we would fail, but 900 is from Chinese. So they're booming. So they are no longer imitating, now they are innovating. So when you look at yani yapay zeka tarafına bakarsanız, artificial intelligence, for example, 65% of all those articles are written by Chinese institutions or academics. Something is changing, not from an industry perspective or economy perspective only, but also in innovation. So we will hear more and more, and we should be looking around diversity and not only focus in the West, but also West and East and South and North. I think we need to have more diversity. Social and maybe traditional entrepreneurship, a couple of issues. So what is the goal? Well, profit, you would say, with entrepreneurship, but social impact and sustainability or sustainable revenue with some social cause. The success metrics, mostly financial or customer feedback in the entrepreneurship, but social output. The target groups are customers. We like to call them customers. Could you imagine, even if it's an entrepreneurship related to hospitals? In the presentations pitching, you hear customers. So sometimes I try to correct. Let's call them patients, even though they pay. But here, the society, bigger impact, bigger outreach to disadvantaged groups. Handicaps, others, under educated. And some key characteristics we should be talking about: the value chain. Now it's mentioned in the previous presentations, the wars around Iran, what's happening in Iran. well, the end result touching everyone is the value chain. If the value chain is broken, we will have little access to water or other food or other materials. Sustainability is becoming an issue. We should be talking about the stakeholder engagement, not only shareholder, but the stakeholder. It's a bigger understanding. We hear more and more the Green Deal. For example, Turkey is very big in textile and apparel industry. Again, sustainability, water usage. The Green Deal, how are you going to export that? The carbon, circular economy, we call it. And all that in conjunction with, of course, the software, the services, artificial intelligence, information technology. But somehow, somewhere, you should be managing the performance. The performance of how well you use the resources. And then organizational values, the core values as well as the organizational values. So innovation definitely is a focus. I don't know in universities what type of classes they offer you, but now in Turkey, not only related to social entrepreneurship, but that is a chapter. Entrepreneurship and innovation is widely given as supplementary courses. And then there's lots of ideation. We do make camps, ideathons or hackathons. That these are like 2-day or 3-day long workshops. You have what? Hackathons, yes. It used to be in general broad terms. Now more and more, after 20 years of our experience in Turkey, now we have vertical hackathons. For example, focusing on artificial intelligence or focusing on sustainability or climate change. And Turkey is an earthquake terrain. So we've gone through some major earthquakes recently, I think 3 years ago. And I was in the region, by the way. I went there before the earthquake, and then I was in a hotel. I experienced the earthquake in the south of Turkey. And then right after that, I've seen groups, universities, companies, civil society, doing lots of hackathons based on, developing products and services to handle not only earthquake, but other disasters. It could be a material, or we have a stock of homes and apartments. How can you strengthen them? Not spending much money. So some carbon fiber to wrap around the columns, for example. And many other products came out of such hackathons and business acceleration programs. Yani özellikle deprem sonrası bir dalga olarak mesela ben de depremde bölgede tesadüf ettim. Yaşadım yani depremi. Birçok kurum, kuruluş hackathon dediğimiz kamplar, atölyeler düzenledi. Biz de düzenledik, eğitimler verdik. Afeti daha iyi yönetebilmek, yani önceden kestirebilmek, afet olduğu zamanı yönetebilmek ve sonrasını yapabilmek için sistem geliştirmek, iletişim kanalları geliştirmek, platformlardan ürünlere kadar. Mesela fiber, yani karbon fiber bir malzeme ile mevcut binaların kolonlarını sarmak ve güçlendirmek, mesela yıkmadan, dökmeden, büyük inşaat işlerine girişmeden. Bir toplumun aslında, keşke tabii hiç bunlar olmadan önce, ama biz 60'ları, 70'leri, 80'leri, yani siz tabii doğmamıştınız ama es geçmiş bir ülkeyiz. Şimdi biz o açığı kapatmaya çalışıyoruz. Bunda da bir beis yok. Geçen kalan kaldı, geride kaldı. Ama bu hızlı, en başta söylediğim çevik olabilme, agile. Türkiye'nin bugün en önemli kası budur. Çok çevik bir toplum. Bazen fazla çevik. Ya bir dur bir düşünelim. demeden de atak yapabiliyoruz. Ama mesela çevik olmak, benim gençliğimde, yani 80'lerde öğrenciyken, 90'larda Amerika'da Silikon Vadisi'nde çalışırken çevik olmak diye bir şey yoktu. İyi planlama yapmak daha önemliydi. Zamanın ruhu buraya geldiği için, bizim kaslarımız da ona uygun olduğu için şu an mesela o avantaj haline geliyor. So some examples, I've already mentioned few, but some other examples of social entrepreneurship. As most of you would know, the Grameen Bank in Bangladesh started in Bangladesh. It came to Africa, Pakistan, other places, reducing poverty through macro credit. What is very interesting is that with the legal framework, you create banks in each and every country, highly regulated. Banking is highly regulated. Okay, so what they offer is they offer credits to companies, to SMEs, to government institutions, to individuals, to families, right? So we take credit from banks. And then some of the credits are paid back with interest. Some percentage is not paid back. I'm talking about regular banking system. Now, the Grameen Bank, I think it was Yunus Mohammed who created it. The credit, very small credit, $100 or $200, depending on, people doing business on the street, selling something, mostly women. They paid credit, and then when the credit time was over, 99.9% of the credit was repaid. In the banking system, it's something 92%. What do you think about this? No paper between us, nothing, no signature. Maybe, in Bangladesh or other places in India, those women, for survival reasons, they do small businesses. So they're not educated. But 99.9 they pay back. So you never know what would pay faster and better. So this is a very amazing project, as social entrepreneurship, because this is human, and I have responsibilities. They have given me this support, and then I make some money. The woman, the uneducated woman, they feel that they have to pay back. Amazing story. The Han Academy, for example, access to education, especially very scalable businesses like education, healthcare, and others. When you serve out of a platform, then you can manage your costs. Therefore, you can have more free education that you can offer to many people who do not have access to training and education. I have a similar case, more a commercial one. When I was running a techno park in Ankara, ODTÜ, there was a company called Udemy. Who has taken courses out of Udemy? Also our Polish friends, many. So Udemy was not successful 13, 14 years ago. I was the mentor. We were working, but not successful. Why? Because we didn't have early adapters. So in an ecosystem, social entrepreneurship or commercial entrepreneurship, you need early adapters as users and paying customers. And then we didn't have early adapters in venture capital or business angels. Nobody invested. Oh, this is fantastic, let me invest. Nobody invested. So the two founders, one, he found a job in Aselsan, defense giant in Ankara, the other in Google. So they were about to quit, and I said, well, and I was just a few years after I came from US, many years in Silicon Valley. I said, I have some contacts. Why don't you try the US? Well, I don't have a visa. I cannot buy my ticket, and all that stuff. Finally, it was done. One of the founders went there and talked to some. But overall, the story is that today it's an American company with almost $5 billion market value. So, and sometimes I'm talking to the founder, I'm saying, make some free access. So the business model is on freemium. It's freemium, but some special courses you have to pay. So it's mixed. Evet, Türkiye'den de çıkan çok iyi girişimler, yani Udemy Türkiye'den, Ankara'dan çıktığını vurguladım. Aslında şöyle bir çevreye bakarsak sağlıktan başka alanlara kadar çok iyi girişimler çıkıyor. Yani bunların tabii değerli olması, sosyal boyuta dokunması, kurumlarla işbirliği yapıp onların belki kurumsal sosyal sorumluluk projelerine eşleştirmesi. Yani böyle sosyal girişimciliği sadece ya sosyalsin ya değilsindir ya da ticaretsindir ya değilsindir diye bakmıyor olmak lazım. Bunların hibrit alanları var. Geçenlerde gene mentorluk yaptığım bir girişim var. Mamosis. İsminde ifade ettiği gibi meme kanserini problem erken ve iyi teşhis vermek. Doktorlar yapabildiğini yapıyor. Ama bir de alınan radyolojik görüntüleri yapay zekada yorumluyor ve %96 isabetle. O zaman da doktorun karar alma süreçlerini iyileştiren, hızlandıran ve iyileştiren mamosis. Yani bunları böyle isimlerini söylüyorum. Hani bakarsınız karşınıza çıkar. Hani ihtiyaç göstermesin Allah, ama yani bunları desteklemek de bizlerin hem mentor olarak hem hoca olarak hem ekosistemde var olan insanlar olarak hepimizin görevi. So why is social entrepreneurship important as a summary? Because we want to create solutions. Solutions. We are solution driven people. We should be solution driven. And you don't need to call yourself entrepreneurs. But you need to act as entrepreneurs. Doesn't matter if you work at the ministry or university or corporation or private sector or government. Even there you should be, biz onlara entrepreneurs, we call them entrepreneurs. İç girişimci diyoruz. Akademik girişimci diyoruz. Sorgulayan. So we have to question, look for improvement areas, efficiency, and keep going. Not necessarily, we don't have to make any profit out of it. Maybe the society does, or maybe the company does that we're working for. So also bridging the gap between the government and the private sector, because the governments, myself for example, I'm a true believer of a small government, whereas our government is now growing a little bit, because I believe in the talent of individuals and teams. And the creativity we have. Because if we go that direction, that only supports sustainable development. Because you might have development, but not sustainable. You might have a development in this area, but not in the other. So sustainable development, giving us this, prosperous societies, and lots of opportunities and jobs, of course, for the young. So this graph is, I think, where I will stop. This is a loop, non-stop. Remember, I said there's no perfect. There's always a reasonably good solution, and then a better one. Get customer feedback or user feedback, a little bit better. So versions. I mean, Microsoft didn't give us the perfect product 30 years back, right? Gave us a product, and then 6 months, and again 6 months. Keep making it. So social entrepreneurs is not different. So you have to emphasize what is happening. This is where you diverge. Look for ideas. And then you need to somewhere define, okay, this is more doable. And this is from an impact effect, this is more scalable. So there you have to converge and find your ideation and then make a prototype. Okay? Because users, customers, investors, whoever, donors, whoever is giving you a grant, in Turkey, for example, TÜBİTAK, KOSGEB, Kalkınma Ajansı, others, they say that our brain is in our eyes. So we need to see and then convince ourselves. And then you need to scale. But while scaling, you need to have a business model there. Business model is another topic that we have to study. Maybe one day we will. But then keep making the implementation as soon as possible. Time to market is critical. Don't make it like, oh, let's wait, better product. No, first run it, make a launch, collect the user feedback. This is a loop, like, you have to make iteration several times, and there is no shame on that. So testing. Okay, I think this is pretty much the same. There are organizations like International Ashoka, the Impact Hub, as well as for example, particular holdings. The Çanakkale Group, for example, is running a social entrepreneurship business plan contest. So there are several opportunities. So this is not only a product or a service that we are talking about, not only a business model, but this is a mindset. Yes, we can do mindset. And I've seen out of thousands of ideas and entrepreneurs that small ideas with excellent teams. Team building is very critical. Can make big social change. And anyone in this room, we can become entrepreneurs. And as I said, I'm one of those very lucky ones. I'm a very happy person because the environment I'm working in is very creative people, helping each other, creating teams, learning from each other. So this is the essence of our creative ecosystem. And it's not the financial capital that is missing. We don't need huge numbers of dollars and Turkish lira or Polish euro use, zloty. But we really need a very strong purpose that we're going to change the society for good. Thank you.